Welcome to the Business Women Australia podcast show, the podcast that brings together industry leaders to discuss the latest trends, insights and strategies. So sit back and relax. Let's get inspired by the amazing women who are shaping the future of professional women in Australia. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Business Women Australia podcast show. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording today, the Whadjuk Noongar people here in Perth, Western Australia. I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us. I'm Karina Singh, a financial services transformation and innovation leader and founder of Work Besties, a community helping ambitious millennial women lead with confidence and connection. Today, we're talking about how to close the year strong and set yourself up for a smooth start to 2026. If you're a business owner or leader guiding a team through the end of year mayhem, this is the conversation you need before we head into the holiday season. We're covering strategy, operations, cash flow, clients, and how to actually take a moment for yourself as a business leader. And to walk us through it all, I'm joined by Stacey Payrits, partner at LG Accounting Solutions, where she's grown from a graduate accountant to a trusted leader within the firm. She's a chartered accountant with deep expertise in self-managed super funds, leading the super team for the past 7 years. Stacey works closely with primary producers and family businesses with a strong focus on estate and succession planning. She's passionate about supporting business owners, solving challenges together and helping the next generation thrive. Stacey, welcome, and I'm really looking forward to this convo with you today.
Thanks for having me. It'll be a lot of fun to celebrate the Christmas season and just make sure our partners in business are well set up for a well-earned break.
Yes, it's both a busy season and can be the downward season for people as they work their way into the break. So let's dive straight in. Year end can feel like a lot for leaders and business owners, whether that's, like we said, rushing to get things done before the end of the year or before a break, or if it's a peak season for them because, things like hospitality and retail, it really ramps up at this time. But either way, we want to make sure that we balance a bit of working in the business, but also, I think, carving out time to work on the business. So let's break it down. Firstly, for the businesses that are going into like the break, it would be a really busy time for them right now, kind of rushing to get things done and, want to go into that break with some clear-minded thinking. Let's start with, what are the non-negotiables right now for you? What's top of mind?
So top of mind for not only our business, but a lot of the businesses that we partner with that are heading into that Christmas break is actually planning out their workflow between now and Christmas. We've only got 28 days to go. It's not long until Christmas. Most businesses are shutting down before then. I think we've only got 2.5 weeks until we are actually shut for the Christmas break. So planning out that workflow to make sure you're meeting your client deadlines and expectations is really important. So now that time of year to also communicate with your clients, put out the newsletters, update your email signatures, call your clients so that you're in their brain over the Christmas break, to let them know that you're going to be closed over Christmas, but you're also going to be available in the new year. And if any emergencies crop up, it's always good to have that touch point. It's also great for professional services firms like myself to touch base with your clients before you close down, because this is when, for us, typically clients like to get those bright ideas that if you don't get onto them before Christmas, don't seem so shiny in the new year.
Yeah, so communicating with clients, do you let them know also, because I used to work in a big corporate firm with lots and lots of people, so we were able to have skeleton staff on if for whatever reason it was actually an emergency. And working in financial services, a lot of the time I think it's not that urgent. It can wait till the new year. But for smaller businesses like your own, do you tell them like we're not contactable, or if in emergency, contact reception, a callback service, or someone like yourself, one of the partners?
So for a small business like us, we have to be mindful of the right to disconnect for our employees. And same with a lot of the businesses that we work with. Once our team go on leave, that is it. They're actually not allowed to be contactable under the new Fair Work rules and regulations. They have that right to disconnect. However, as a business owner, it's important for us that we offer that touch point to our clients. So different rules for business owners in comparison to employees and team members. So we do put on our email signatures that for any emergencies, contact either myself or my business partner, Lou, so that way that connection is maintained through the break, because things happen, especially in small business. So we are fully contactable.
And that's a good reminder, putting it on your email signatures as well as the out of office when they do happen to, send an email with their bright idea over the break.
That's it. And for me, I'm a bit of a workaholic, so I do tend to have my mobile phone with me, and I have my emails on my phone. So while I won't say I'm working over Christmas, I do tend to keep my finger on the pulse. And a lot of small businesses will be in the same boat in that regard.
And I guess I was going to ask you towards the end, like the boundaries you put around that. But I guess as the business owner, it's being able to check it and know what's going on, but it doesn't mean you have to reply to it straight away. Like you can choose whether or not you action it, or it's like, oh, that's nice to know, I'll leave that for the new year.
Exactly. And it's all about triaging. So some clients will send you stuff through just so that you know what's going on without the expectation of a reply, but it allows you to jump on those things when something does happen, it does go wrong, and you do need to get involved for your clients. You're at least there for those emergencies. So absolutely, it's about triaging. Have a look at what's going on, but it doesn't mean it needs to be actioned. You can enjoy a Christmas break.
Yes. And you touched on workflow at the start as you're trying to wind down. It's either the rush of getting things done or triaging, knowing what can wait. So what do you suggest around that workflow aspect to help people go in and finish off, so then when they do take their break, no matter when that is, that they can kind of go away with a clear mind knowing this is what I'm coming back to later?
For us, workflow software. So for any small business, workflow software is honestly a lifesaver. It'll help you keep track of your jobs. It'll help you keep track of where things are at, and so nothing gets missed. And it means when you do put that job down in December and pick it up again in January, you know where everything is at. So whether that's using something within the Microsoft Office system or a bespoke custom software, depending on your industry, job flow management software is a huge life changer, especially for small businesses and keeping things on track. Failing that, notes, and more notes.
Yes.
You can never have too many notes.
Waiting for that notes, because as much as you think, oh, I will remember, this is like important, I'll remember, your memory is never as good as at the time that it happens. So always put notes down. I've kind of built that into whatever I do now. It's like write some notes straight away, just so then it jogs your memory a bit later on.
Exactly. And save the notes so you can find them again.
Yes.
It's no good having the notes. I know I wrote that down.
Of course. And around staffing, so we touched on the right to disconnect, but there's also like staff around like your annual leave, public holidays, managing all of that. So I can is a big thing for small businesses as well, all those bits and pieces to manage.
Absolutely. So this is where getting the support of a good HR consultant or a HR or a firm to help you, or to reaching out to your accountant that specializes in HR is really important, because if you close your business for 2 weeks, then you are requiring your team members to take that time off. And you will then need to manage, do they have enough leave to cover that shutdown period? If they don't, are you going to allow them to go into negative? If you're going to allow them to go to negative, is that a policy across all your team members, or are you going to break it up and go, well, if somebody is new to the business and they're still in probation, are you going to allow them to go into negative? Or are you only going to allow team members that have been with you for a certain amount of time to go into negative? What are your policies? What are your procedures? And have they been accurately communicated to your team so everybody knows their expectations?
Yeah, the communication bit, right? That's an important thing, and it's doing it so that everybody understands, and it's not, why does that person get to take negative leave and you're making me have unpaid leave? So communication is key on that one.
That's it. And having those policies and procedures, especially where the team can access them and they're written and they're acknowledged, is super important. Small business tends to fly by the seat of its pants when it comes to policies and procedures, but we can't anymore. We need to act like big corporates, especially when it comes to employee rights. You need to follow their lead. And if they've got a policy and procedure for everything, as a small business, you also need a policy and procedure for everything.
Yes, and where people can access it too. I think you might have mentioned it before, like it's with notes. It's good saving it somewhere safe, but if they can't access it, then they don't know what their entitlements are. And then you don't really have something for them to, if they question it, you're like, oh yeah, it's saved on my personal drive.
Exactly. It's got to be circulated around. It's got to be acknowledged that they know where it is. So it's just really important to have that central database.
And we actually haven't mentioned cash flow yet. Now, I imagine that one is a huge one. We could probably talk about it all day, but just quickly, what are the major things that business owners should be wary of when in terms of cash flow, and potentially what blind spots might they have around the cash flow?
That's it. So there's lots of cash being splashed around come Christmas time. We're all spending money on presents and fun activities. But what business needs to remember is while money is still going out of your business, if you are shutting down for any period of time over Christmas, you're not the only business that shuts down, which means money coming in can be limited. Invoicing won't happen over a shutdown, and invoicing that goes out late in December, depending on your payment terms, might not get paid until early January. So if you've got 14-day terms, but you're issuing an invoice on the 19th of December when everybody else is closed for those 2 weeks, you're not going to get paid within terms, and that might affect your cash flow, and that will affect your ability to pay your bills and invoices when they come due to you. So when you're shutting down, you need to plan for those expenses are still there, whether your business is operating or not, making sure that you have enough cash at bank to see you through that shutdown period. And a little ways into January, because it'll take time for business to ramp back up again and for you to start seeing that money coming in. Obviously, this is dependent on your industry and whether or not you shut down or other businesses in your industry shut down, but it's definitely something to think about to ensure that you're able to meet your obligations when they come due.
And then talking about, like you mentioned just then around in January, it might take time to pick up again. Last question for those businesses ramping down is your client pipeline. So how, with that quiet period, that's when no activity is happening and it takes time to ramp up. So is there any tips that you want to give business owners around looking at their pipeline over that time?
Contact your clients before the shutdown with the expectation that you'll touch base with them again in early January. So having that touch point beforehand kind of primes them that when you contact them in January, it's been sitting there bubbling in their back of their brains. And so when you make contact, it's not like out of the blue, or it's not like, oh yes, I've got to do that again. It's an expected touch point. So you're starting to build that relationship, build that expectation. So it helps things move along a lot quicker in January rather than starting the process fresh. So it moves things along and just makes things easier.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good idea. You could even wrap it up with your Christmas message and say, hey, I'll touch base in Jan and let's talk about whatever point their business in. Like maybe it's the new idea they've got, or they're wanting to expand more. So it's like saying, hey, over the Christmas period, great time for you to think about that without all the day-to-day going on, and let's chat in January.
That's it. And a lot of businesses or business owners use that Christmas period because it is quiet for them to catch up on some of the business stuff that they've neglected throughout the year, because it is quiet for them on that front. So touching base beforehand, if you need them to do something over that Christmas break, it's really good to plant that seed beforehand, because if they are taking that quiet period just to catch up or get some things done, it means you get added to the list rather than ignored over the Christmas period.
Yes, on the list of things to do. And yes, that's right. Collate all my things, all the questions I need to ask, and we'll get them ticked off in January. Alrighty. So how about the businesses ramping up at this time? So thinking like hospitality and retail, they're the ones that come to my mind straight away, where they actually, this is their peak period. What are some tips for those? And let's start with the cash flow aspect.
So for businesses that are ramping up, they won't have the same sorts of cash flow problems in terms of not having money coming in. But what they will have is a lot more money going out than normal. because when you pay staff over that Christmas period, you need to be very careful because you've got excess penalty rates over the Christmas holidays, because you've got those public holidays in there. A lot of businesses open for extended trading hours, so you might have staff working longer shifts. So be really mindful of those penalty rates because they will catch you out. They can be very expensive for small business over this time. Lots of also businesses offer surcharges or have surcharges for operating over that Christmas period. So just being mindful in terms of cash flow that your normal budget might not apply over this Christmas period. Things might be just that little bit more expensive than what you're used to. So just be planning on that in terms of the income coming in against the expenses going out.
Yeah. And on that, even inventory. So thinking like they have to order ahead a lot of the time. So it might be like quite tough right now if you're doing a lot of stock ordering, knowing that you might not be using it until closer to Christmas or over the Christmas break.
Correct. So if you're a hospitality or you're in retail, you need your stock on the shelves or in the store now, ready to go, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get it closer to Christmas as everybody scrambles. And those supplying companies tend to also wind down and have shutdown periods. So absolutely, you're going to have that extra expenditure stocking up on stock before the Christmas rush.
Yeah. So much thinking and planning to do. It's kind of like an ongoing thing, isn't it? Like really they should be planning a few, like lots of, like as soon as the end of financial year hits, you're kind of forecasting for the end of the year so that you know where you might need to like just plan ahead and look at your cash flow and inventory.
Absolutely. That's why budgets are so important, and setting a budget before the end of financial year that takes into account the cyclical nature of your business. Having a business plan so you know when to do extra ordering, planning for that cash flow. All of this should be done before the start of the next financial year. But at least if you've got to do it now, make sure that you're onto it and thinking these things through. And then maybe next year go, yes, it is time I put a budget in place. It is time I put a proper business plan in place.
And get an accountant and a business advisor to help you do all that, right?
Absolutely. Build your tribe, build your circle, build your network, and get that help.
Yeah. Any other blind spots for businesses ramping up that they should really be looking at?
The big one at the moment, and this is across all the industry, is staffing. So if you are doing extended trading hours, you are going to be busier. It is really hard at the moment to find additional staff. So if you feel like you're going to need more team members over a particular period, start thinking about how you're going to cover that now. It's really, really hard to find casual staff. It is a lot harder to find backpacking staff or those kind of casual touristy staff that used to kind of come through to fill those gaps over the Christmas period. It is harder and harder to get those, and they are more expensive.
Oh, yes, staffing. And what is typically the youngest age that people can start working? And, you know, I've got a vested interest here. My son is 14 and he really wants to start working, but I actually don't know when he can start working yet. Don't know if I'd trust him.
You're testing my knowledge on this one. Don't take me verbatim on this one, but I actually think it's 14 and 9 months. I do remember there being something about a 9 months in there. So it's about 14 and 9 months. And then they are still counted as a minor. So they have different rules as well as when they can work. So depending on how old they are, there's different HR rules. And again, it's going to depend on the industry, but certain age groups can't work past certain hours. So if they're working in something like a fast food restaurant, then they might not be able to work past 10 p.m. at night. Or they can't start before 6 a.m. in the morning. There are different rules for different businesses when it comes to those different age groups. So while it might seem like a good idea to employ a whole heap of young people because they are generally cheaper, they also come with their own rules and regulations that you do need to be aware of.
Yes, I will let him know that he has to wait a bit longer, but might as well get that the resume up to date and get him doing some responsible chores around the house to get him used to that. But that one is good to know. All right. So we mentioned before around being end of year, there's a lot of events going on and a lot of end of year functions and people having a lot of fun. Whilst that is a lot of fun and it's nice that the business wants to thank their staff, I can imagine there are lots of rules, or not really rules, things to be really mindful of during that time, because when people drink a little bit too much, things can get out of hand. So what are some things around that? Like, can you have an alcohol policy put in place and, you know, let them know that this is what we expect? Is that something that I know in big corporate we do that, and we have times around when we will have the events to keep it, you know, not running too late at night? What are the actual rules around that, or what would you put in place?
So for us, we do circulate a responsible service of alcohol table before each event. We encourage our staff to drink responsibly, and we do have a policy in place that if you are drinking at all, then you cannot drive to and from our events. Either take public transport or take rideshare service or taxi services home. And we've in the past made vouchers and things available for that to happen. So safety is a big thing. And as an employer, if you are providing alcohol to your team members, you have that duty of care. You need to provide that safe work environment. So that includes, if you are providing alcohol, making sure that it is consumed safely. The big one as well is also interaction between team members. So perhaps putting out some documentation beforehand about what is respectful interactions between team members. So even though we're having fun, we're being social, we're having a casual engagement, there are still rules and expectations in how we deal with one another. It's not all bets off just because we're having fun. There are still things that are inappropriate to say. Whether it's a social setting or in an office setting, inappropriate is inappropriate. So it's having those conversations, which are not easy to have, but are just as important. And also reminding staff that just because you have left the primary function venue, if team members are still interacting with one another, then everything still continues on. You still need to act professionally and appropriately, even if you've left the primary function venue and are moving on to doing something different.
So they could go from like, you know, you might start out, have a late lunch or something like that, and then they go, oh, we just want to head to the pub down the road or the bar. And if a group of them do go, and let's say you as a business owner, you're not there anymore because you're like, no, I have to get home to the family, whatever that it might be. Those things still continue on as they start to go around to the different places.
Correct. So if you have an inappropriate interaction between staff members that have kicked on to another venue, that can still come back and become a HR issue because they're interacting with each other because they are staff members. So if they weren't friends outside of work and wouldn't normally interact, or what's brought them together, it's been that function and social circumstance because they're employees. So
you started
HR has a long reaching arm. You need to be so careful. So just because you think, oh, they've gone now, that's it, everybody's moved on my liability ends, it might not. So it's just being careful, just having those conversations with the staff to stop anything happening in the first place of going, hey, let's just be respectful, be appropriate. And just because you're not in the office doesn't mean that all bets are off. We still just act as we would if we're in the actual office.
And it's kind of like, just be a good person.
Really,
it's some of these things, like when you think about inappropriate comments or inappropriate, like touching or getting, like not even in a bad way, just too close. Some people are very much like, don't get too close to me kind of thing. It's just respecting people's boundaries and respecting people. Basically, it shouldn't need to be said, but it does.
It does. I think because you're no longer in that workplace setting, people feel like they've got a little bit more of a license. But if you wouldn't comment on what someone's wearing in the office, don't comment when you're on a social setting.
Yeah. And how do you bring this up with staff? Like, I imagine it's not just to send out of an email policy, but it works better when you actually have the conversation with them. And like you said, it's a bit of an, not awkward, but it's the fun police, basically.
Exactly.
How do you bring it up with?
So bringing it up is we have a meeting before our events and functions. It's just part of our team meeting, just the one prior to an event. And we just kind of then bring it up just then going, hey guys, we've got this function coming up. We all want to have fun, but let's just remember, these are our rules. These are our expectations. Being a mother of a young child, I tend to mother my team probably a little bit much and be like, okay, kids, let's make sure we behave. You know, this is what we're going to do. We're all going to be here on time. We're all going to be respectful. We're all going to make sure that we use our nice language and kind words. But it's bringing that then fun element to it kind of takes a bit of the sting out of it, I think.
Yeah. And this kind of goes back to the first question around the cash flow and spending during the Christmas period, because you like to buy gifts, you want to have that end of year function. There's certain things, I think, I don't know, I'm not an accountant, I might have this completely wrong, but like claiming stuff on your tax and as expenses for GST, what are some things around that people should consider around gifts and end of year functions?
Right. So this is a really interesting one, and it's on a case by case basis. So it's really not one size fits all, because it's actually going to really depend. So if you are having a team function, you guys are you're going out for a boozy lunch and you're having fun, that is meal entertainment. It will not be tax deductible. Do not claim GST. And if you spend over $300 per person, great, I want to come work for you. But there might also be FBT implications. So trying to keep the expense under $300 per person is a good rule of thumb. And then that way there's no FBT, but then just don't claim GST and just be aware that it won't be tax deductible. If you are throwing a client Christmas party, so an event that your clients are going to come to, it's really going to depend on how it's set up on whether or not it's tax deductible. If it's by invitation only, you're inviting a select number of clients and there is alcohol going to be served, then it's going to be very hard to tax deduct very much any of it. But if it is an open event advertised to the public, it is a marketing event where your clients happen to attend, then there may be the opportunity for it to be tax deductible and to claim GST. But if you're opening it up to the public, you've got to be aware that the public can turn up. So do you run that risk just for a tax deduction? I would say just be err on the side of caution. Have a nice Christmas party with your clients and don't claim it as a tax deduction. Don't claim the GST on it, and you'll stay safe from the ATO.
Just be like a nice to have out of our pockets kind of thing, just as a thank you.
That's it. It's still an expense to the business. It's just not a tax deductible one.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So there's lots happening over that period, no matter whether you're ramping up or you're winding down. What are you doing over the Christmas period? I can see all your beautiful decorations and you're on theme today in colour. It's very, very nice. I have not done anything, so you're taking one for the team on that. So what are you and your family doing over the break?
Christmas is my favorite time of year. So I love putting up all our Christmas decorations. My house looks like Christmas threw up on it. So it's fantastic. And my daughter absolutely loves it. But for us to take a break, we go away camping. So we're going down to Denmark for 2 weeks. This is fantastic because it does actually force me to disconnect. Where we've said it all about before about keeping your finger on the pulse and checking my emails and being contactable, that is the case for most of it, but there's actually no cell reception where I'm going. So until I turn my Starlink on to check everything for about an hour and a half each day, I'm not contactable during that period. So it does force me to disconnect, but I still have my finger on the pulse. I'm still there for emergencies because I connect my mobile when I go into town and I turn my Starlink on for an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon.
Oh, that sounds awesome. To actually properly disconnect is to be, I can't actually get the internet at all unless I'm really mindful about it and knowing, like you said, you've got that hour to do it, or when you're in town. And then other than that, your phone's pretty much useless. So it is time to spend with the family. That's it. It goes back to being an old school brick and a camera. And so we can just enjoy each other's company and go and explore this wonderful state, spend some money in some local tourism spots and enjoy funding the local economy. Awesome. Do you take time over that period to kind of think about the business, because you're not working on it? You're kind of disconnected from everything. So you're probably quite present in the moment. You're with your thoughts instead of, scrolling your phone or checking emails, stuff like that. Do you take the time to think strategically about where you want to take the business over the course of the next year? Absolutely. It is my favorite time to sit down with a good business type book. So
Think Buy Back My Time by Dan Martell or the EOS system, lovely kind of business books, and read those and then kind of plan my business out in accordance with those books. And it allows me then to think about my business differently, because each of these types of books have a different business theory. So I tend to kind of look at my business and go, okay, this is what I've been doing. How would it work if I fit this business theory? Or how would I fit it into another type of business theory? And it just allows me to kind of freely explore how I could improve my business, how I could make it better, how I could make it work more efficiently, more engaging for my team, and just overall how I could get more out of it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you kind of say, does it fit my business or not? Because businesses are not, when you think about the theories and what people say you should do, it's not one size fits all. Everyone is slightly a little bit different, a little bit unique. So you've got to take what will work for you from all these different business books or ideas or podcasts and say, yeah, that will work, that won't. But how do I now incorporate that into the business and bring the team along with me as well?
That's it. So change management is huge, but when you've got that time to yourself and you're not connected to everything, for me, definitely writing things down. So I will sit there with a book and my notepad. And when my books come back, they look like hedgehogs because they've got sticky tags all over them. And written all over. Exactly. But it means then it really helps you kind of coalesce what you want to do in your brain by writing it out. There's a lot of science between actually the hand and the brain. So writing things out and doing those mind maps and that business planning is just without interruption, without kind of the noise of the business itself. It's a really valuable time.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's always having to draw it out. I love to write, and everything I do is kind of kept electronically, but being able to just go on paper and then draw the picture out to see how do these things link together. Yeah, that it really does make it sink into the brain a bit more. So awesome. I don't have any more questions for you today. That was a lot. We covered a lot during that time, Stacey, and it's going to be so beneficial, everybody listening back. And hopefully they'll listen back a second time with their notepad and paper and taking down the tips that they think that they should be looking into, because as we said, it's not for everyone, every single tip. There might be just one or two bits of gold that will work for them. But I think it all just comes down to planning and communication. They're the two main things, whether that is planning to wind down or planning to ramp up both your cash flow, your workforce, your workflow itself, but then also communicating to your team and your clients, the most important parts.
Absolutely. Communication is the heart of any small business, whether you're communicating with your team or communicating with your clients or communicating within your own business sector. It's huge, and it's something that you need to master, and different forms of communication as well. A newsletter is great. An email is slightly better. A phone call you cannot go past. And even better if you can go out and actually meet your clients. A lot of businesses now, it's kind of fallen away that people don't go and hand deliver those Christmas presents anymore. That sort of tradition has fallen away. But if you can still get out and meet your clients just before Christmas, it's a great touch point for building those relationships. So communication in person whenever you can is key. But otherwise, take some time for yourself and enjoy your Christmas break.
Oh, yes, I definitely will be enjoying my Christmas break. That is a quieter period for me, so I'm really looking forward to it. And Stacey, thank you for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful time in Denmark, switching off, except for that 1 hour during the day when you're checking your emails. I hope you get time to just roam around, sit with your thoughts, spend time with your daughter as well, and your husband, of course, and have a really wonderful end of year. So thank you again so much, Stacey, for sharing your expertise and your insights today. And thank you to our audience who have been listening along to the Business Women Australia podcast. If you would like to know more about Business Women Australia or about us or becoming a member, you can head to the Business Women Australia website or LinkedIn, and you'll find Stacey and I there in the member directory on both the website and LinkedIn as well. And you can find a recording of this podcast either on the BWA website on YouTube, on Facebook, and in Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. And of course, make sure you're following Business Women Australia on the socials to stay across upcoming events. I have seen a lot of events come through for next year already, and I'm looking forward to those. And we have member stories and opportunities to grow with an incredible national community of women in business. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas, everyone.
You have been listening to the Business Women Australia podcast show. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode and gained some valuable insights to empower you on your journey. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to stay updated in our latest episodes. And if you're not already a member of Business Women Australia, what are you waiting for? Head to our website today and join so that you can connect with a thriving community of inspiring women across Australia. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.